All right, let's get right into this one because it is one of the wildest stories in modern music. Seriously, we're talking about a 16-year-old rapper, 2 different murders, a nationwide manhunt, and a hit song that absolutely blew up online while he was on the run from the law. This is the story of Tay-K.
And this whole thing forces us to ask a really tough question, right from the jump. And I want you to keep this in the back of your mind as we go through this. Can fame, can millions of streams and a ton of public support actually change how we look at a crime?
Because that's the bizarre reality of this case. For Tay-K, fame didn't come before the crimes, it came because of them. Millions and millions of people were listening to his song while the families of his victims were just trying to grieve. It's a really jarring contradiction, and we're going to unpack it.
So let's start with a part of the story that sounds like something straight out of a movie. This is the period where Tay-K, his real name is Taymor McIntyre, became a full-blown celebrity fugitive.
I mean, just look at this timeline. It is absolutely nuts. In just over 3 months, he cuts off his ankle monitor from a previous murder charge, commits a second murder, drops a music video about being on the run that goes viral, and then finally gets caught clear across the country. The sheer audacity of it all is staggering.
And this is where things get really weird. The race wasn't some little track that only a few people heard. No, it hit the Billboard charts. And the video for it? He's posing with a gun right next to his own wanted poster. It was the perfect storm for viral fame, right? It tapped right into this outlaw fantasy, and the social media algorithms just pushed this raw, shocking content to millions. He was literally taunting the police, and for a lot of people online, he became this kind of folk hero, all while being wanted for capital murder.
So you have to ask, how does a 16-year-old even get to this point? To really get that, we have to rewind. We have to look at his life before the manhunt, at the world that created Taymor McIntyre.
Now, what you see here, it's a pattern, an unfortunate one that we've seen before. He's born in California, but his family is constantly moving. There's no stability, no real father figure in his life. Then they land in Arlington, Texas, and he's dropped right into the middle of gang culture. He drops out of school, and where does he find that sense of family? In a local crew. Rap was his escape, his passion, but the street life, that was his reality.
And that reality came with a heavy, heavy price. So now we have to talk about the part that gets lost behind all the viral fame. Behind the song, behind the free Tay-K hashtags, were 2 violent crimes that left 2 young men dead.
So this is how the first one went down. It wasn't random. At just 16, Tay-K and his crew, they actually planned a home invasion. They had guns, they had masks, and they targeted a house looking for drugs and money. But things go sideways. A fight breaks out, and in the chaos, a 21-year-old is killed.
And we have to remember who the victim was. Ethan Walker. He wasn't the target. He wasn't involved in any of it. He was just a friend hanging out at the house that night. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he lost his life over a robbery that barely netted the crew anything.
Yeah, because he was a minor, the court actually gave him a break. House arrest. Stay home, wait for your trial. But instead, on March 25th, 2017, he decides to cut off his ankle monitor and just run. And that decision, right there, is the moment he goes from murder suspect to fugitive.
But while he's on the run, the violence doesn't stop. In San Antonio, he and some accomplices set up a meeting with Mark Anthony Saldivar, a 23-year-old photographer. Saldivar thought he was going to a professional gig, a chance to maybe shoot photos for a rapper.
But it was all a setup, a trap. This quote from the police report just lays it all out. The whole plan was to rob him of his expensive camera gear. When Saldivar fought back, he was shot and killed right there in a Chick-fil-A parking lot. Another robbery, another life gone.
And while all this is going on, the race is just exploding online. We are talking over 200 million streams. That number is just hard to wrap your head around. It was fueled by platforms that, tend to push shocking, controversial stuff. But that number, it comes with an enormous human cost.
And this is the other side of that huge number. For the families of Ethan Walker and Mark Saldivar, every single one of those streams wasn't a celebration of music. It was a gut-wrenching reminder that the man who killed their sons was being celebrated for it.
Well, you can't outrun the law forever. The viral fame, the online hype, it had an expiration date. On June 30th, 2017, U.S. Marshals finally tracked Tay-K down in New Jersey and arrested him. The race was over.
So he ended up facing 2 separate trials. For his role in Ethan Walker's death, he was convicted of capital murder. That's a more serious charge because the murder happened during another crime, the robbery. and it got him 55 years. Then, for murdering Mark Saldivar, he got another 80 years tacked on.
So you do the math, it adds up to 135 years. The justice system came down hard. The viral fame, the hashtags, all of it meant absolutely nothing in that courtroom.
So, where does that leave us? Tay-K is locked up for the rest of his life, but his music is still out there. It's still getting streams, still making money. And that brings us to the really complicated debate that's still going on today.
It really breaks down into two camps. On one side, you have people saying, take the song down. They argue it glorifies the very violence that took 2 lives, that it's a slap in the face to the victims, and that these big streaming platforms shouldn't be profiting from it. But then you have the other side, saying, hold on, removing it is censorship. They say you have to be able to separate the art from the artist's actions. When you step back and look at the whole thing, Tay-K's story is just a massive cautionary tale. It's about incredible talent just completely squandered by violence. It's a brutal look at the real-world consequences of chasing street cred, but it also makes us look in the mirror at a culture that can sometimes glorify that behavior and turn a fugitive into a viral star before justice even has a chance.
And this is where things stand today. He's in a maximum security prison in Texas. That chapter is closed. The viral moment is long gone, and all that's left are the lifelong consequences of his choices.
Which brings us right back to that question from the beginning, and it's the one I'm going to leave you with. When an artist's song is literally about the crime they committed, when the art and the violence are that tangled up, is it even possible to separate the two? Or are they stuck together forever? It's a really tough question, and there's no easy answer.